I know. I was warming up right here, right on the air. Okay, there you go. Just not like we're doing anything. Not like we're coming back to the show. It's the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source, just stretching it out here just a little bit because I'm trying to get warmed up and ready to recap another great weekend in the NFL. That was almost a good segue. Another recap, another great weekend in the NFL. And who better to do it with me than the man, the myth, the legend behind the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast, which you can catch every Tuesday and Saturday, or unless you want to listen to it any other day, that's cool as well, on Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, SoundCloud, Overcast.fm, and Player.fm. And of course, he also runs the great Facebook group, Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast as well. It's Tyler Baker. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, things are good. I hope you and the family had a good Thanksgiving.
Did indeed, and I hope you did as well, my friend. I hope you wreaked havoc on whatever poor defenseless turkey that you laid waste upon. So definitely it was a great time for us indeed this Thanksgiving. But along with the turkey games, there was a lot of great action the entire weekend. But as I said to you before we went on the air, before I started warming up too, should we just leave it at Julio Jones and just drop the ball and go home?
Woo! He played like a big boy today. He had 12 receptions, 253 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He even caught a touchdown from fellow wide receiver Mohamed Sanu. Hey, look, the NFC South is good. The Saints are 8-3, the Panthers are 8-3, and now the Falcons are 7-4. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, the most amazing fact from that performance by Julio Jones, that's not even his best performance ever. It's third.
Yes. I know he had a really big game last season. I want to say he had like 302 or something like that.
Yeah, but he's had 2 other games that have been better than that. So that just tells you what kind of receiver he is and where he stands right now among his peers now, and definitely, the Hall of Fame will be calling his name at some point in time down the road. Rest assured at this point, I think he's already clinched it because he now holds most of the, if not all, the Atlanta Falcons records, and definitely he'll be holding some NFL records as well down the road. But there were some other great performances. Not just going to call it a day with Julio Jones, but I know Joe Mixon had a breakout game finally. And there's some others, and there were some other players as well who had some great performances that are going to lead a lot of teams to some playoff success very soon.
Yeah, the Bengals are giving Joe Mixon the ball. He had 23 rushes, which is a lot. That's a full workload. So in those 23 rushes, he got 114 yards and a touchdown. You like to see that from the rookie. It looks like they've finally gotten to the point where they trust him, and they're going to feed him the ball. A team who wasn't feeding their running back the ball, and we talked about him last time, was the Kansas City Chiefs. They have now lost 5 of their last 6, and when they don't give Kareem Hunt the ball, they lose football games. This week, today, they gave him 11 touches, and they got beat by the Bills. So if you are a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you're probably just in the dumps. If you have pieces of that offense on your fantasy team, you're worried. And I watched this game pretty closely, trying to figure out what's going wrong. They're doing everything wrong, from the coaching to players dropping balls and making mistakes on the field to how their game plan is matching up with their opponents. They're just in the dumps right now. It's kind of sad.
It's just a shame to see a team that beginning of the season was considered and was playing like it was the best team in the NFL. They have fallen so far so quickly, and it's just very disappointing indeed. But who was it, by the way, that led the Bills to victory today? Quarterback? I'm not sure who that was. Maybe.
Maybe it was the guy that got benched a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor. As someone who you called it. You said that was the wrong move, the wrong time, and definitely it proved out to be the case, especially after the replacement threw 5 interceptions last week in the first half, and they went back to Tyrod Taylor. So I think somebody up in the Bills management and Bills coaching staff is eating a little bit crow today, and rightfully so, because Tyrod Taylor is a good quarterback, and they're going to let him go, or he's going to be gone because looks like he probably doesn't want to stay with Buffalo at all after what's happened. And definitely he's going to be a great prize for someone else that wants to acquire his talents.
Sure. And it's not just his play on the field, it's how he's handled it. And all of his players and his teammates have said, you know what, he handled it like a pro. He got benched. He did everything he could to help the rookie prepare for that game. The rookie fell flat on his face with 5 interceptions in the first half, then came back in like a professional, and is just going to work. Now, Tyrod Taylor's never going to put up huge passing numbers. He's really not that quarterback. So it'll be specific teams that'll be interested in him, in his skill set. But he's showing that when he's asked to go out there and play hard, he does it. So even though he got benched, the way that he came back like a professional, I think is going to really help him in free agency this year.
But also for fantasy football owners, he may not be the prototypical 350-yard passer, but he can get you $200 to $250, 200 to 250 yards passing, 50 to 100 yards rushing, and he throws, importantly, a low interception total.
He does, and when they get in the red zone, they'll design runs for him. So if you, for fantasy purposes, if you have a quarterback that is running the ball in the red zone for touchdowns, that's huge points. Blake Bortles had a couple of those today.
Exactly. So who else? Well, don't get me started on Blake Bortles. We don't have enough time in the podcast. But be that as it may, what were some of the best performances out there, or some that actually caught your eye in one way or another? And even if they were really bad for some reason, but just performances that caught your eye this weekend in the NFL.
For me, it was Tom Brady, and he went up against a really good Dolphins defense, and they got after him. They knocked him down 8 times. He was getting beat up in that game, and the 40-year-old quarterback just stood in there and led his team to victory, and it was impressive. And for his age, and if there's a way to really attack the Patriots offense, it's put pressure on Tom Brady, get Tom Brady on the ground, rough him up. And the Dolphins did everything they could to make that happen. And Tom Brady just transcended and did what Tom Brady does, threw for 227, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. I mean, the Patriots are good. I think they're 24-1 against divisional opponents at home since Tom Brady's been playing. That's ridiculous.
And I want to thank the opponent of mine that actually decided to bench Tom Brady.
What?
One of the quarterbacks you play every single week. And I don't know why he set him down for Matthew Stafford, but you know what? Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the win.
Yeah, there are some guys you don't bench. We mentioned Julio Jones earlier. Julio Jones will have games where he's real quiet. But you have to play him. Like if you draft Julio Jones in the first round, you're playing him. And those top tier quarterbacks, if you spend, a high draft pick on those quarterbacks, you got to play him. Some guys are just matchup proof. And Tom Brady's one of those guys. Yeah, you can't he's Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't get put on the bench. No.
This individual did, and my team was all the better for it, because the difference between Matthew Stafford's performance today and Tom Brady's was about 7 points. And guess what they're losing by right now going into the Monday night game where they don't have anybody and I do.
Ooh.
It's 7 points. Sometimes it's all the difference.
It is. He must be listening to one of those other podcasts.
Exactly. But the podcast you need to listen to is the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. It's always available on Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, SoundCloud, Player.fm, Overcast.fm, and you want to check out their Facebook group where you can ask those questions on lineup changes, trades, and stuff to get you ready for the playoff run right at Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast Facebook group. You want to ask those questions, join up, and be, it's just Facebook group. So right there's a lot of people that can go ahead and help you make a good decision. And obviously, like I said, every Tuesday and Saturday, new episodes drop of the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. So it's definitely something to listen to indeed. Tyler, as always, my friend, we truly appreciate being on the show, but the playoffs are coming around the corner, and you and I are going to have an extra special episode coming up in the near future discussing all things fantasy football playoffs, correct?
Yes, looking forward to it. It's that time. Most leagues have another week or two left, and then it's real deal time.
Definitely. So we're going to devote, and actually, if you listen or download, we're going to have our normal little segment with Tyler and I. But coming episodes, you want to look out for it. We're going to have an extra long segment for those people downloading and streaming the podcast. Definitely want to check that out. Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. In the meantime, every Tuesday and Saturday when episodes drop. But we'll make sure to let you know when we have an extra special segment that we're going to add on for playoff previews, for a playoff preview coming up in the near future as an add-on and bonus to one of our downloadable episodes. Tyler, as always, my friend, it's just great having you on the show and being part of the pop culture cosmos.
Oh, thanks, man. It's such a pleasure. I love your show. Love listening to it. Love being on it, man. Thank you.
And I love it when somebody benches Tom Brady.
So good.
Yes, indeed.